We're live.
I just want to check their website real quick.
Okay, great.
This what you did the other day?
I stuck it right at the base of the stage.
Oh.
So we can do that as a backup. You know? But usually where she's got it, I have it right on the floor right here. And the teeth right there, so.
Can you see it?
I don't think you can.
What's that?
I don't think so. Nope.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah. So. Well, I gotta go off live again.
What's that?
Now I gotta go off live again
No, you shouldn't.
to be able to see if I'm charging.
I'm gonna give you
Oh,
this.
awesome.
So.
Oh,
plug
into
that
that
wire.
where you've got the
Yeah.
Oh.
It's that old orange plug.
Yep. You mean the one that you've already plugged in your our receiver up here to?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God. Okay, you good?
Maybe.
Oh. Oh, the orange one. I'm confused.
Alright, I'm coming up. And we hear sound from your phone.
Take it down.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
It was this one.
No, fuck. Okay, so I just plugged into this. Oh, I just put this
That's fine.
adapter in.
That's fine.
Did it matter?
Nope, you can put it there and we'll do that.
Oh. Thank you. Oh, cool. Excellent. All right. So, rock and roll, man.
Sweet.
All right. There you go.
And you can
Yep.
you can keep this plugged in.
I can. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. So
Yeah.
all I have to do if it fails is
Yep.
just plug it in.
I hear you. Yeah, just swap those out.
Okay.
Okay, so you guys aren't going to hear anything until about 5 minutes of showtime. Here we go.
check to see if I can hear you.
Hey, can you hear me? Just want to say hello to everybody streaming this show. Let you know how much I appreciate your support. I love you, and it's almost showtime.
Yep. Have a great show, Emma.
Accommodate that. Thanks so much for coming. My name is Brian Rasmussen. I'm the artistic director here at the White Fire Theater, and we'd like to welcome you to tonight's performance of ENERJOYCE. Joyce is a dear friend here at the White Fire, part of our company. Very excited to have this happen tonight. So, a couple things, if you would be so kind as to turn your cell phones completely off. We'd appreciate that. In case of an emergency, the entrance you came in is one of the exits, and we have additional on stage right and stage left. We are 1 week away from tonight, from the end of our Solo Fest, which is, thanks to you, the largest solo festival on the West Coast. Yay! We are completing a little over 50 shows in 60 days. That's why we're holding on to things. Keep going. We're so excited for all the participants, and great shows still coming up. We're ending with Billie Holiday next Friday. So go on to whitefiretheater.com, check out all the upcoming shows. We have some participants in the audience right now. And so we'd appreciate you coming back and checking out some other shows. We develop a lot of solo shows here at the White Fire. We have a Saturday morning solo workshop that Jessica Lynn Johnson runs, and let her tell you a little bit about that.
It's 100% free. You just go to jessicalynjohnson.com and sign up, and it's ongoing. You can drop in and out as you feel led, and you don't have to have any writing or acting experience. I guide you from the ground up to creating your own solo show.
Yeah, so come on down. Free. And we have a whole slew of shows opening in March and April, so come on down and check out some other theater here at the White Fire. We appreciate that. We know you can be a lot small dark theater in Sherman Oaks. So we just appreciate you coming down. We're all very excited for tonight, and Joyce Fiddler, and thanks so much for coming, and enjoy her in ENERJOYCE.
We're also going to do a Q&A afterwards. So for that.
And one little thing, we are taping and live streaming, so all of the back row up there, I'm coming up the stairs to get into that little booth. So just know I'm coming up right now and give me some room. Thanks. Thanks so much for coming. Enjoy the show.
Sure. Positive mental. Attitude. Definiteness of. Perfect. Going the extra.
That's my 5-year-old granddaughter, Anais, helping me memorize the 17 Principles of Success by Napoleon Hill and W. Clement Stone. Their book, Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude, became my guiding light last year. But I want to start my story all the way back in 1956, when I'm about my granddaughter's age. And I'm a Pisces, and I'm 6 years old. Our symbol is two fish swimming in opposite directions. That's just like my brain. Part of my head I call flow. I am the peaceful, cooperative part of Joyce. I encourage her to get along so she can achieve and be productive. I love it when Joyce goes with the flow, just like my name. The rest of me I call Sam. Hey, Flo, did you know that salmon swim upstream? I like it when Joyce makes her own rules, does things her way, and goes against the tide. If Joyce wants to make a mark in the world, she better listen to me. I'm Sam. I'm in 1st grade, and my favorite thing is to sing as loud. My best friend Vivian and I live in the same trailer park. We race out on the playground so we can get to the swings, and we pump as hard as we can, and then we yell, "Turn on the radio!" Principal Nick, we want to be in the talent show. I'm sorry, girls, but no first graders allowed. We want to sing. Well, I suppose we do hear you girls practice every day at recess. Perhaps we can make an exception this one time. Yeah! Mom, do you like our song? Joyce Ann, can't you girls sing something more appropriate? But we like this song. I know you belong to somebody new, but tonight you belong to me, just me. People clapped so loud for Vivian and me. It was really fun. It's also fun to get boys down on the ground and kiss them. You're a little boy crazy, Joyce. Oh, who cares, Flo? I know what I'm going to be when I grow up. I'm going to be an actress. Oh, but I hope I'm not too late because Shirley Temple's already doing it. Mom, may I take acting classes, please? No, Joyce. You girls are already taking ballet, toe, tap, and acrobat. You know you'll get socked if you say anything, Joyce, but who asked to take any of those other lessons? Glissa, arabesque, 1, 2. Glissa, arabesque, 1. It's now 2nd grade, and it's a super hot day in Detroit where we live. As usual, Mrs. Johannes is super crabby. Everyone, return and no monkey business. I think it's a little weird that they make kids wear long pants when it's this hot outside. That's what I thought, Sam. Hey, you guys, I don't think we'll get in trouble if everyone changes. Wow, how cool. Everybody came back from lunch wearing shorts. Uh-oh. Mrs. Johannes looks crabbier than ever. Joyce, everyone says this was your idea. Report to Principal Nick and explain yourself. I wish Principal Nick could have punished me at school. Instead, he called my mom. She was super mad. Joyce Ann, you think the rules don't apply to you? You're grounded. Oh, I could hear out on the racetrack behind our trailer all the kids laughing and having fun with the go-kart that my dad built. But when everybody's outside, I'd go back to Mom and Dad's room and stand in front of the mirror and practice singing. Young love, first love, filled with true devotion. Oh, but Joyce, there's no privacy in the trailer, so of course you would prefer to practice when people are outside. Oh, oh dear. Oh dear. Sometimes, when you're a little kid, you get confused. We moved to Indiana when I was 10. It was 1960. My sister turned into a teenager. One day she told me her stupid plan. Joyce, I read that teenagers can be terrible. I'm going to be the worst one ever. Now, Joyce, doesn't Pam realize that life will be much more smooth if everyone is kind to each other and just gets along? I have no idea, Flo. One day she told my mom another one of her wacky ideas. Girls, let me see those report cards. These grades are unacceptable. Average is C, and C is good enough for me. I think this school is boring anyway. Oh, Mom, I don't think it's boring at all. Look, I got on the dean's list for the first time. The honor roll, the honor roll. Well, did you see that, Joyce? Mom just looked at Pam and yelled at her instead of giving you any kind of credit. If you want any kind of recognition in this family, you better look outside. Right, Flo? Oh, stop being a troublemaker. Joyce needs to always just do her best, especially now that they're moving to you. In the middle of 5th grade, when I just turned 11, Dad got transferred by the Army to Germany. So Mom took my sister Pam, my younger brother Gary, and we all went on a ship across the Atlantic to join Dad. We studied language records so we'd know a little bit of the vocabulary. And when I went to school, kids said to me, "Is your mother German?" "No, she's Japanese Hawaiian." In 7th grade, I went to the library to look up my astrological sign, Pisces. The book said that we're compassionate, artistic, and musical. But it also said we like to escape reality and often become drug addicts or alcoholics. That sounded more like my sister Pam. In 8th grade, Pam got a boyfriend, Jimmy. Mother was not happy. "Pamela, what kind of boy gives you a switchblade for Christmas? You probably need it to protect yourself from him." Even though he gave her that bizarre gift, my sister kept hanging out with Jimmy. One night, my parents and brother and I all went to some neighbors when a friend Emily called. "Hannah, I hate to break up y'all's card game, but is Pam babysitting in our building tonight?" "Yes, Emily. Is everything okay?" "Well, I hate to be a tattletale, but I saw Jimmy come into the building a while ago, and I didn't see him leave." "You're kidding me." By the time we got there, Pam was drunk. Mom took her to a doctor to make sure she hadn't been raped. Oh, Joyce, it was difficult watching your parents deal with your delinquent sister. Even though my sister was out of control, my parents tried to put a bunch of restrictions on me. So Dad was traveling a lot for work, and I sat Mom down to tell her how to parent me. Okay, well, Sam laid it out for her. "Listen, Mom, Joyce maintains a B average, but you and Dad won't let her go to the movies or go to the teen club with her friends. Now, you need to start trusting her, or she's going to start asking to go places she knows you're going to say yes to, and then she'll go wherever she wants, and you won't know where she is. Ha!" So Sam set Mom straight. Actually, around the time I turned 13, my parents pretty much let me go wherever I wanted. Permission to hang with your friends, just at the moment when you have none. Dad got transferred back to his home state, so it's Indiana for high school, Joyce. Thanks for the warning, Sam. I was really depressed about having to leave Germany in the middle of the school year. Oh, Joyce, it was difficult having to change schools in the middle of the year, but your parents were finally able to build their own home, and you all moved into a brand new tri-level just as you entered 9th grade. Yeah, well, 9th grade was pretty much a bust. Mom wouldn't let you go see the Beatles at the Indiana State Fair, nor were you elected cheerleader at your new school. Oh, Sam, who cares? I just met the cutest boy. He and I are in this patriotic group called Up With People, and we go on buses all over the place singing, "If more people were for people, all people everywhere, there'd be a lot less people to worry about, and a lot more people who'd care." Oh, Joyce, I hope Mom lets you go to the Up With People leadership camp where you've been invited. Joyce, Ann, those people just want to brainwash you. It's probably a cult. You're not going. But, Mom, did you ask Dad if I could go? I am not bothering your father in Vietnam with something this ridiculous. You know, Joyce, it's kind of weird. Your dad's a lieutenant colonel, but he's a pretty mellow guy. That mom of yours is more like a kamikaze pilot. Who has time for up with people anyway? Your mom ordered you not to try out for cheerleader again, but you did it anyway, and you got elected. Ha! Way to go, kid. Oh, Joyce, you are now a cheerleader, varsity cheerleader for the Warren Central Warriors in your senior year. WCHS, Warriors fight, Warriors fight, Warriors fight. Oh, yes. I finally picked my college when I read that there were 7 men to every woman. I told Mr. Bass to get me enrolled at Purdue University. I can't really see you at Cal College, Joyce. You know, Purdue graduates a lot of farmers. Have you not seen those male-female ratios? Sign me up! Oh, college, you were immediately cast as a manic-depressive inmate in the hugely successful play Marasad. Oh, Joyce, your collegiate dramatics career was happening. Yeah, you were also offered pot, hashish, and mushrooms during that show. It was a chance to dive into the 60s counterculture. But you were such a wuss. Now, Joyce, your answer left them speechless, but it was the right thing to say to people tempting you to take drugs. You are a vulnerable Pisces. Pisces have a tendency to become drug addicts and alcoholics. Yeah, well, yeah, forget about it. You're just not gonna, you just said that stuff to those people who asked you to take drugs. Hey, Joyce, wanna get high? No, thank you. I'm high on life. You're lucky they let you keep your teeth. I wanted to punch your lights out every time you said that lame shit. Other priorities, Sam. We were marching to protest the Vietnam War and university policies. Uh-oh, Dad called. Dad never calls. Joyce, I didn't send you to school to have you out there acting stupid. But Dad, the state raised the tuition and we're marching to get them to rescind the fee increase. What are you talking about, Joyce? You don't pay your tuition. Just stay in that dorm and study. You should be studying computers anyway. That was the most depressing thing my father could have said to me. If my dad thought that there was a chance in hell that I wanted to study computers, I realized he didn't know anything about me. Now, Joyce, Dad had been in Vietnam for a year. He didn't realize that you had decided to study acting and theater. Besides, you're also getting a teaching credential, and you're working part-time at a record store. You're doing great. It's now sophomore year, and I just met Gesualdo, the man of my dreams. Gesualdo and I just crossed the line. He wrapped those sexy, long, bowed legs around me and blew my 20-year-old mind. Oh, Gesualdo. I don't know what I was waiting for. I didn't want to get pregnant like my sister, so I just never had sex, but that was just fun. I'd like to do that again as often as possible. Well, Joyce, I can help you with that. From the moment we met, Gesualdo and I were inseparable. Thanks for hanging out while I play piano, Joyce. It's my favorite thing in the world. But my high school girlfriend used to get pissed if I played. Well, Gesualdo, you know, you got lost in the music, so maybe she was jealous. Personally, I think it's seductive. So, Gesualdo and I just started sleeping together, and we're about to be separated for 8 weeks. He's going to be a hiking counselor in the Southwest, leading campers into Mexico, while I am up in Wisconsin as a creative dramatics counselor, watching kids go on canoe trips to Canada. We're barely on the same continent. But that trip to Camp Birch Trail in Minong, Wisconsin, changed my life forever. Another counselor, Becky, invited me to come to her cabin one night after dinner. I have something I think you'll like, Joyce. Let's go into town. I want to turn you on to marijuana. Okay, Becky, but I can't imagine that I'll like it. I mean, my sister smokes cigarettes and she's super thin, so I've tried smoking several times so I could lose weight, but I could never really get the hang of it. No, Joyce, no. Marijuana is illegal, and you are a good citizen and a vulnerable Pisces. Stay strong. Oh, don't listen to that killjoy. It's about time you let down your hair and had some real fun. Becky and I walked to the bleachers at the baseball diamond. She pulled out a joint, lit it, and took a deep drag. Hold it in your lungs, Joyce. It smells so sweet, Vicky. We watched the sun go down as we smoked that first joint. I was thirsty, so we walked to a bar in town. Well, look at you, girlfriend. You're hot. Let's do this every chance we get. Oh, Joyce, now you made a mistake today. You get back to camp and you inspire those little girls who are looking to you for guidance. We walked into the bar. I ordered a tab. The diet soda tasted so sweet. My head was beautifully fuzzy as I sat down on the floor, cross-legged beside the jukebox. I grabbed a napkin and wrote this poem. So slowly the book of matches was offered, and its sparkling cover was attractive. I opened the book and saw the crimson heads and their temporarily rigid bodies. So I plucked you from your package and struck you against the surface of your outer self. And you generated within me such a warmth. You glow. Wow! Gagged me with a fork. But hey, now you'll have even more in common with Gesualdo. Sam was right. Gesualdo and I were married just 1 year and 1 month after our first date. On March 20th, 1971, John and Yoko's anniversary. Oh, Joyce, you had exotic Hawaiian flowers from Auntie Hazel, and you and Gesualdo exchanged original vows that you wrote. Wasn't it grand, Sam? Well, my idea was the best. Way to get you to ignore Mom's complaints and sing that John Lennon song to each other, Joyce. Oh, it was beautiful, Sam. But the honeymoon didn't work out so well that night. You had a dream that You were in the pink-tiled bathroom. You had drunk Singapore slings, Joyce, and at only 21 years old and with very little drinking experience, I think that was a bad idea. Suddenly, you were at your in-laws when, oh, I can't say it. You peed the bed, Joyce, on your wedding night. You just dragged Giswaldo through to the dry spot on the huge bed in the Hilton honeymoon suite and passed back out. Kind of a sign of things to come. Hey, Sam, nobody's perfect. So we got married on a Saturday, and we were back in class at Purdue on Monday. We waited 18 months before we took our honeymoon. Oh, that romantic honeymoon, 2 months on the islands of Oahu, Kauai, and Maui. It was camping on beaches and staying with Mom's family, spending a week at Auntie Annie's mountain house. Yeah. It was also all the sex you could manage and skinny dipping on the new beach on Kauai and battling to get a drink because your mom's family was all a bunch of non-drinking Mormons. We returned to the mainland, jobless. Giswaldo wanted to be a musician and own a record store. Oh, weren't they the perfect hippie couple, Sam, with her acting and his musician ambitions? Oh, yes, they just were so wonderful together. And then they, well, what did they do next? Oh, sometimes when we smoke a lot of drugs, we sort of lose our way. I don't know. All of a sudden, we were the happy hippie couple. I was working as a assistant box office manager at the Indiana Repertory Theater. We were living with Brother Gary and his girlfriend. Gary and Giswaldo started working at the wholesale record warehouse downtown. One day, Giswaldo and I had a meeting with Scotty, the owner of the wholesale record warehouse. Joyce, there's a head shop on the east side called the Golden Door. They want to put records in the back room. I don't want to hassle it, but you guys go check it out and see if maybe you can do it. That location was perfect for us. It was right down the street from Fort Harrison where we got married and near my high school. We immediately went back and told Scotty we wanted to meet again. Here's a check for $5,000. Open a checking account, decide on a name for the store, and get the store open as soon as possible. You're kidding me, right? This guy's gonna let you manage his store? Scotty trusted them, Sam. We got busy right away. I was still working at the theater, so Giswaldo and my dad built all the record racks. That's when we really started getting involved. Sam, what do you think? Oh, yeah. When you get high a lot, sometimes you just gotta surrender and say, where the hell am I? What do I know? My brother came to work with us at this store. We were working in the back of the Golden Door, and we only had a 6-month lease. All of a sudden, Bobby, the owner of the Golden Door, asked me to go for a ride in his big white Cadillac. We really appreciate you letting us start our store in the back of your shop, Bobby, but we're uncomfortable staying without a new lease. There ain't gonna be no new lease, Joyce. This is my side of town. I have no idea what that means, but I can tell you that we're not staying one day after our lease expires. Wonderwall moved to an open space in the same strip mall the day our lease ended. Now, time you got that brilliant idea to stop taking birth control pills because they were giving you bad vibes. Hey, Joyce, how'd that work out for you? And then you read that literary masterpiece, The Happy Hooker, and you were inspired to go ahead and jump Gesualdo's bones anyway. Yes, you and Gesualdo had an adorable blue-eyed baby girl and named her Kiri Kealoha after her great-grandmother. Aww. One dark night, about a year later, I went to drive the trash from our new store back to the dumpster. I slid behind the wheel when all of a sudden I noticed this big sedan screeching across the parking lot and screaming to a stop right in front of the Village Pantry convenience store. This car parked headlights to headlights with another car, a big white car that was parked facing out. I saw somebody walking down the sidewalk to the white car when 2 men jumped out of the sedan with guns blazing. I slunk down behind the wheel just as I saw Gesualdo coming out of the Golden Door, coming out of Wonderwall with Kiri toddling behind him. Someone's been shot! Remember how shocked you were that that was Bobby's ass on the sidewalk? How did you not know the guy was a junkie drug dealer, Joyce? Even Flo knew that. Yes, well, Bobby went to jail and the Golden Door went kaput. And now you and Gesualdo had a moral dilemma. Wonderwall customers were accustomed to finding smoking paraphernalia at this shopping plaza. So the nearest competitor was another record store down the street. It didn't feel good selling bongs and roach clips and rolling papers, Joyce. Oh, wah, wah, wah. You made a killing on that shit. You had that cornball slogan, Wonderwall, where you can afford your music habit. So you didn't make squat on the records. Yes, well, you know, Joyce and Gesualdo believed that music was a necessity of life right after food and air. Paraphernalia saved your bacon, Joyce. We also started selling vibrators, thumb cuffs, and dicks on a stick in dark and white chocolate. We sold concert tickets to all the rock shows, and I narrated all the new releases for the vinyl records.
Elvis Costello's My Aim is True on Columbia Records and Tapes, now on sale at Wonderwall, East 42nd and Post. Wonderwall, where you can afford your music habit.
So I kept my toe in performing, but we were so busy. For the first 3 years we had that store, we didn't have a vacation. Finally, we took Kiri and drove to West Virginia, where Gesualdo helped his best friend build an outhouse for his property. The sound of crickets was deafening to me. I made up my mind right then and there that I was determined we were going to move to New York so I could pursue acting. In the car on the way home, Gesualdo and I had the talk. Gesualdo, you promised that we could move to New York as soon as the store was on its feet. Wonderwall's doing great. In fact, Karma Records offered to buy our store. Let's sell it and move forward with our plans. Joyce, We've got a house, a store, and a child now. I'm not comfortable just leaving everything in Indiana to move to New York. Heartbroken and disappointed, you stared out the window. You knew that you loved your husband and made the profound decision in that moment to stay and have another child so Kiri would have a playmate. We got pregnant right away, and we also went back to school and started taking education classes at Butler University. Oh, and Rena Osborne was born in 1977. Remember, Sam? Oh, yeah. So now you're juggling a house, a store, and less about getting a master's in education. You better drink up and get high while you can, Joyce, before you flip out. Our house was a tiny little 800 square foot property on an acre of land. After an Indiana ice storm, one of our trees split right in two. Just Waldo, why don't we build our dream home here? And we can rent out the little house. Well, Joyce, that's a great idea. I'd like to build a solar house if we can. Gesualdo's artist brother Jan designed beautiful stainless steel solar collectors. His family's sheet metal company fabricated them. Oh, yes, and your little family moved into the new 2,400 square foot house where Gesualdo's father sent the family heirloom, the Steinway grand piano. Oh, yes. Now, can you tell? This is the very first time I've ever had to share this story with anyone. I think perhaps we should look for help. Okay. Yes. Was that house built when Gesualdo joined your brother's band called Your Parents? Yeah, you barely moved into the joint when Gesualdo's band took over the living room. They were practicing in the house, and even though their guitar player Andy wrote killer songs, the vocals were terrible. Gesualdo, would you ask him if I can sing? It's not my band, Joyce. I'm not comfortable asking. One night, the band was rehearsing in the living room, and I was hanging down in the family room. All of a sudden, I heard the guitar player yell at me, "Waitress, bring me another beer!" That son of a bitch! Why didn't Gesualdo tell that guy to shut his pie hole? No kidding. I ran upstairs. I called this guy Matt, who had just moved to town, and I offered to come over and help him unpack. Oh, Joyce, you spent 2 hours happily helping Matt settle in before you exploded. That young man who you barely knew just allowed you to vent and tell him how you weren't feeling heard in your own home. The next day, I pulled Gesualdo aside. Gesualdo, we're in trouble. For the first time in my life, I understand why people get divorced. I mean, there's something really seductive about telling somebody new all your old stories and having them find you fascinating. The person you're married to has heard all your shit. That was the beginning of the trouble in my marriage. I made a decision when I turned 30 that I wanted to become a singer in a band. So One of the employees at Wonderwall had a girlfriend whose band was looking for a singer. Oh, Joyce, it was a wonderful opportunity. Yeah, Joyce showed up with a microphone and a mic stand, and she could sing. So they hired her ass. The band played fun cover tunes by Leslie Gore and the Animals and the Beatles. But they were unwilling to go out and play. I thought they were just afraid. And so I pushed them to let me get us out there. Finally, they agreed to let me book us in a club. Oh, the band called themselves Lip Service, and they had a packed crowd at Crazy Al's in Broad Ripple. And at the end of the show, when men came up to get autographs, the ladies blotted their lipstick on the napkins. It was delightful. Yeah, some people were delighted. But 2 days before the next gig, the guitar player, drummer, and the keyboard player quit the band. Your brother refused to step in on drums, but Gesualdo took over on keys. The universe led you to the multi-talented Manon on guitar and Jeff on drums. You changed your name to Kix and were invited to open for the Go-Go's. Oh, yes, and then you found out there was a band in LA called the Kicks, so you became the obvious. And you coined that clever slogan, "Don't overlook the obvious." Oh, yes. It was a wonderful opportunity of a lifetime. Yeah, opportunity wasn't the only thing you were looking for that night at the Go-Go's. Now, was it, Joyce? I had made another critical decision around the time I turned 30. Gesualdo and I had one more serious talk. Meet me downstairs after you're done reading to the kids, okay, Gesualdo? I grabbed a pot brownie for him, a joint for me, and waited downstairs for his arrival. Gesualdo, remember that book I checked out of the library? Open Marriage? Yeah, Joyce, you mentioned it. Well, Gesualdo, I've decided that I want to experience being with other men. I can either move out and get my own place, or we can try an open marriage. Do you want to read the book? I don't think we can really afford for one of us to move out. I guess we'll try an open marriage, and then you brace yourself for whatever midlife crisis I come up with when I'm in my 40s. I make no Aldo. Sam, he went for it! Oh yeah! Woo-hoo! Open Pandora's box! That night at the Go-Go's, you boinked your brother's buddy Bennett behind the club. And then, next thing anybody knew, your kids were sharing a room and you moved Bennett into your house. Yeah, it was sex, drugs, and rock and roll heaven. Except for all the people whose lives were now in turmoil, Sam. Gesualdo was also hanging out with a woman, Mary, who left her husband and moved in too. You finally sat your 3- and 6-year-old daughters down to explain what was happening. Curie, Rena, do you girls have any friends whose parents are divorced? Yes, Mommy. Well, people get divorced because they don't want to be together anymore. Your daddy and I still want to be together, but we also want to get to know some other people. So that's why your daddy is with Mary tonight and why I went with Bennett to the Bruce Springsteen concert last week. We just wanted you to know what was going on. Okay, Mommy, can we go play now? Of course. Thanks for understanding. Now, Joyce, Asking a 3- and 6-year-old for permission to commit adultery is not sane behavior. Oh, yes. Well, that was the way that went. And now, this was the time when things were really going crazy. Just Waldo and I were still together, but we had other people in our lives. It was so much easier before you all got here. Twisted my 16-year marriage into a noose around my family's collective neck. My sister Pam was also still giving my parents heartburn. She had divorced her first husband, who got custody of their special needs daughter, and then hooked up with this scumbag and married the bozo. I figured she'd be happy to hear my update, so I went down to her office one day. Hey, Pam, I'm about to take your place at the top of the family shit list. What are you talking about? Well, I wrote Mom and Dad a letter and told them that Bennett and Mary are moving into our house. Okay, that's psychotic. I think I'll just stay away until you tell me the coast is clear. Now, Joyce, of course, she's not going to come around when things are so crazy. I waited a couple of weeks and then called Mom's best friend, Anita. Hi, Anita. I was wondering if you've talked to my mom. Yeah, she told me about your cockamamie new lifestyle. Was she pissed? I don't know. You tell me. She says she wishes she'd had dogs instead of children. Don't worry about it. She'll calm down eventually. Oh, yeah. My 3-year-old daughter had suddenly been losing weight. I took my kids to play a game of putt-putt on a mild spring morning. Rena guzzled down the drink I had brought, and after the game, she powered down another huge glass of water. Waldo, do you remember when they tested me for diabetes because my grandmother had it? Well, 2 of the symptoms are excessive thirst and weight loss. Yeah, Joyce. Didn't you just say that your mom was recently diagnosed as diabetic? Yes. In fact, she's got a machine, so maybe she can test Rena tonight while she babysits. Oh, Joyce, it was a miracle. Grandma and Rena were both diabetic within a short time frame. Perhaps you should consider curtailing the drinking and smoking a bit. Well, let it flow. Joyce, you and Giswaldo had no idea how to take care of your kid. She needed 3 meals a day and 3 snacks a day and 2 insulin injections, and everything had to be weighed and measured and on time. Your kid was only going to be in a coma or dead if you mess this up. No pressure, so you better drink up and relax while you can. As we were trying to figure out how to handle Rena's health concerns, The Obvious had won a Battle of the Bands sponsored by TRC Studios, and we went into the studio to record 2 songs on a 45. Why Can't It Wait should be the A-side, don't you think, Joyce? Because the Billboard magazine songwriting contest gave it an honorable mention. Excellent. Yeah, that'll give us something to talk about when we're promoting the record, Giswaldo. How about something more up-tempo for the B-side? What about the song S? Excellent choices, guys. An autobiographical duet about your messed up relationship for side A, and then a title that's the sound a snake makes for the flip side. Sexy. So now we finally had a finished product that I could take to New York so we could look for a professional manager. Yeah, that New York trip led to nowhere. We went into the studio as the obvious, but soon became abstractions. I met with an Atlantic Records rep. I had a drop-off of the 45 at the David Letterman show, and my high school friend, Jane Pauley, invited me to hang out on the Today Show set. But still, it went nowhere. So now, we had all this opportunity, and Joyce, this was an opportunity of a lifetime. But you were also looking for other opportunities. Yeah, let's just surrender. Okay. Oh, yeah. In New York, people were asking for a music video because MTV had come on the air. So when I returned from that trip to New York, Gesualdo said he and Mary were struggling. Joyce, Mary wants to have a baby, so she asked me to divorce you and marry her. What'd you tell her, Gesualdo? Well, I told her that we're staying married. That's still the plan, right? It's still my plan. Let me know if you change your mind, Gesualdo. When Mary heard Gesualdo's answer, she left to join the freaking military. It was now 1983, and the economy was in the pits. People weren't buying much vinyl anymore because they were watching MTV all the time. We realized it was now time to close our store. So I went back to Butler and got a master's in radio, to get a master's in radio and television. Yeah, Joyce, your wacky life was now falling apart and coming unhinged. But all of a sudden, the whole joint went up in smoke. You're right, Sam. One night, Gesualdo Bennett and I were sitting at the dining room table when all of a sudden the overhead light went out. Perhaps the universe was trying to get your attention. I ran down to the sliding doors and looked to the right. All the neighbors' lights were on. I looked to the left and there was smoke coming from the corner of our house. You guys, the house is on fire. Gesualdo gathered up all of Rena's diabetes supplies. I got a box of important papers and threw my jewelry in it, and we were standing outside before the fire trucks ever got there. Now we needed a place to stay and rehearse while the house was being repaired. Oh, your friend Ricky found a vacant mansion that was for sale, and the owners agreed to let you rent it for less than they would pay for a motel. So yes, at about this time, the band went back into the studio to record a 6-song EP. This was the Abstractions Band. We sent the record around the country, and record pools told us that the favorite song on the album was Wah Wah, a dance song that I had written. The owners of the mansion gave us permission to shoot a music video on their property. And so we shot it on film so that it would qualify for the requirements in the competition show on MTV called the Basement Tapes. Oh, Joyce. Oh, Joyce. MTV was thrilled to get your submission. Not. You got a letter. Oh, but Sam, shortly after they they called and said that they were playing the wah video immediately. Winners of the basement tapes won recording contracts. So this was your best opportunity yet to finally be discovered. Somebody told you what you needed to do is rent a phone room and hire a bunch of callers to speed dial and vote for you like a zillion times. But you refused. So you lost, Miss Goody Two-Shoes. And now you were in your fire-repaired house, and it was obvious you were not going to be getting back together with Gesualdo. Gesualdo moved into his new 900-square-foot room upstairs. A generous cousin gave him a 9-foot harpsichord, and as he played, the sound wafted through the house like angels from the heavens. Things were not so heavenly with Bennett and me. I finally asked my friend and confidant, Susie, if we could meet. Oh, Susie. Bennett goes out every night, and he drinks, and he doesn't come home, and last week, he even slept in his car one night. Do you think he's an alcoholic? Of course he is! Joyce, are you really just now figuring this out? He's been living with you for 5 years. Everyone's known this forever. I honestly had no idea. Help me, Flo. Oh, Joyce, how would you know? Your mother never even tasted alcohol, and your father mostly drank when he barbecued. Yeah, you think a sober guy's gonna move in with some chick and her kids and her husband? Earth to Joyce, of course! Our unraveling lasted another year. Bennett would go out, stay out late, I couldn't sleep, I'd get up, I'd smoke dope, I'd put all of his clothes out on the porch, and then we'd get back together and do it all over again. Finally one day, my sister, Pam, showed up with a book. Joyce, we're all sick of listening to you and Bennett go round and round. Read this stupid book and stop torturing all of us. Okay, that was ironic. Pam was the queen of dysfunctional relationships, but that book changed my life. It was called Women Who Love Too Much, and it was about all these women in toxic relationships who had no business being with this person, but they were all trying to stay together. The book suggested going to Al-Anon, which I had never heard of. Turns out it's a 12-step recovery program for friends and family of alcoholics. My sponsor, Vicki, explained. We don't recommend that you make any drastic changes your first year in recovery, Joyce, unless lives are in danger. You just come to Al-Anon meetings and open AA. You check in with me because as your sponsor, I will help you go through the steps, and you will learn to understand and encourage the alcoholic. Understand and encourage him? I want to know how to make him stop drinking. Yeah, well, the only person you can change is yourself, Joyce. Keep coming back. So I did. I went to weekly meetings, I read daily Al-Anon literature, and I checked in with my sponsor, and I finished my schooling. Oh, Joyce, once you graduated Butler and had that master's in hand, you could see the divorce was looming, so you became a teacher of communications at the local university. Yeah, it was pretty obvious. Joyce better figure out a way to support herself since Wonderwall was closed and the band was usually paying to play. So yes, Giswaldo, why don't we go back in the studio and record, why don't we go and shoot another video to the Rolling Stones song that's on our EP? Good idea, Joyce. We're going to have to buy the video rights to the song. It's going to be about $80,000. My sister Pam and I wrote the mandatory business plan for the Venture Capital Club of Indiana. This was pre-Shark Tank, so venture capitalists were not readily accessible to the general public, Sam. It took us 300 hours, but we finally had this plan written, and I was invited by investors to ask for the money. Oh yeah, Joyce, admit it. Your sister was a badass on the computer. Also, give her credit for ditching that creepy second husband. Indeed, Sam. Joyce and Pam were now working well together to support each other through their transitions. The Venture Capitalist Club invited only 3 presenters per month, but Joyce was one of them. Giswaldo and I were now amicably divorced. Pam and my niece moved into our house with Bennett, the girls, and me, and Giswaldo moved out. But even after all that work, we came away with zip. Yeah, nothing for us. So, about that time, I got a call from my mom. It was 1992, and she told me that my sister was sick. Joyce, your sister had a heart attack, and she's going to have open heart surgery tomorrow. They said that her arteries are tiny and they twist, so if she smokes again, she'll die. But Mom, Pam's only 44 years old. She's been smoking cigarettes, 2 packs a day, since she was a teenager, Joyce. Those cigarettes are also the reason your dad has so much trouble with his heart. My sister survived that heart attack. She went back to work, but she continued smoking. Sorry, guys. Oh, we got no money from those folks, but we did get a standing ovation, Joyce. Remember? They saw the Wawa video and they clapped like crazy. Yeah, take that applause to the bank, Joyce. Yeah, it's not happening. Okay. So, the second video was not happening, so I decided to move forward with other plans. Bennett and I were engaged. Yeah. But during our years together, Bennett had punched a hole in the garage and one in the dining room, and he'd even smashed out the windshield of his own car once when he had a Jack attack after drinking Jack Daniels. My sponsor, Vicky, helped me cancel that wedding. Now, Joyce, you gotta think of your children. If Bennett can get sober and stay sober for a year, maybe you can reconsider. I know you're right, Vicky. I went ahead and bought the wedding dress because I really love Bennett, and I really hope we can work things out. You just keep working your recovery program and see what God has in store for you. Bennett and I did not get back together. Pam and Dawn moved out of the house. I sold that dream home, and I went back to school. I finished my schooling. I know this is painful. I know it's painful. Some people came from so far away, and others are watching from across the globe. This is what live theater and humanity looks like. Okay, so I broke up with that Bennett guy. What are you going to do, folks? Okay. All right. I decided that I was finally going to move to LA to pursue my acting career. And obviously, there are great things ahead for me. So, I was making plans to move to LA. Bennett refused to leave Indiana, and then the girls made the devastating announcement that they were going to stay behind too. My daughter was now 16 years old, and she made a convincing argument. Well, Mom, I might come to California for college, but I want to end my senior year at Warren Central. My kids want to stay in Indiana, which is Waldo. Well, Joyce, your kids have had kind of a rough time with you and all your shenanigans. Maybe they just want a break from you and all your nonsense. You just get yourself a new sponsor when you get to LA. You'll be fine. Once it's gone, baby. Shit, guys. Okay. I was 40 years old. I wanted to make sure that my kids and I were okay before I left town. My oldest daughter and I went to Myrtle Beach for a week for some one-on-one time. And then my parents and I loaded up our cars to hit the road after I returned. We stopped in New Mexico where Rena was at her father's old summer camp. So we had a one-on-one night with her too. I had left all my booze and all my weed back in Indiana. So I was pretty antsy by the time I reached out west. Oh, Joyce, the minute your mom and dad left, you found Narcotics Anonymous in the phone book. Pretty soon, NA, AA, and Al-Anon meetings were part of your regular routine. Right, Sam? Oh, yeah. Joyce would have a cocktail with dinner and then go to a meeting. It was freaking precious. Well, Sam, I didn't want to give people one more excuse not to hire me as an actor. So I didn't want to show up places stoned. But then why did you keep on drinking, you goofball? I was a periodic drunk. I didn't get the relationship between daily pot smoking and alcoholism. One night I went to an NA meeting and a guy, Robbie, asked me to go to coffee. You and your little pot problem, Joyce. You can't keep coming to our meetings with booze on your breath. If we drink again, we're back slamming heroin or smoking crack. Come back when you get a real drug. You know, by rights, Robbie should not have said that to Joyce because the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking and using. But somehow, that seemed to work for Joyce. Yeah, Flo. She went to hang out with her college friends from Temecula, and she told them she wasn't drinking. I was surprised that my friends didn't insist on me having a drink, And then I remembered they all had plenty of pictures of drunk Joyce from years of air guitar competitions. My college Pike friends, my Purdue Pike friends from the fraternity, had an annual air guitar contest. So yeah, we hung out and we drank and we had a lot of fun. But that weekend in Temecula became the beginning of my sobriety. August 20th, 1990. Hey, it was also the beginning of your new sexless life, right, Joyce? They told you not to date for the first year. You pretty much didn't date for the first 8. What the hell? Oh, now, Sam, Joyce needed to learn how to live with herself. And she became very productive because she wasn't smoking dope every day. I started working as a film and television extra. I joined AFTRA, the American Federation of Television and Radio Artists. I drove 75 miles from Ontario, California, where I was staying with my college friend, to study with a legendary acting coach, Jeff Corey. And then I joined the Screen Actors Guild, or SAG. Yeah, you also started teaching right about this time, right, Joyce? That was ironic. Her kids stayed back in Indiana, but now she's hanging out with other people's kids as a substitute teacher every day. What's that about? Yeah, those classes where I was subbing were so challenging that I needed to be in class. Joyce, look, since there are very few acting jobs and many people who want them, think about there are an abundance of special education jobs and very few people qualified to do them. It required going back for another teaching credential, but by golly, Sam, Joyce did it. Yeah, she's lucky she stayed sober through that. She was driving to school after her classes, and it was nuts. But those classes she subbed in were out of control, so she needed to have somebody tell her how to keep those kids from killing each other or her. Miracle of miracles. Joyce proved to be a skillful special educator, and she worked for the Los Angeles Unified School District for 23 years. Then we got the call about a heart attack. And my sister was lost. Give a girl a cue, would you? Oh, shit. Okay. Yes. I wanted to do a job that was useful, because I didn't want to be one of those actors who stands around having a pity party waiting for acting jobs to come. And that's when my sister had the heart attack. And Joyce became a teacher for 23 years. Well, Joyce got sober and had no life, so what the hell? Why not? Sadly, it's true. I had sorry. Now, there are people in this audience who worked with me the last week, and I didn't have any of this. Okay. When I was 3 years sober, Rena moved here from Purdue. She had graduated and was working in California. After she graduated high school, she moved back and headed to Purdue. And Kiri graduated from Indiana University, and she came to California. Yeah, the kids did the old switcheroo. in 1997, I made a switch of my home group. That's the meeting in Alcoholics Anonymous where you go every week. My sponsor, Sandy, explained how to meet people in this huge group. Go to all the weekend events, and I will see you at the baby shower on Sunday. But Sandy, I don't even know these people. Then you can contribute to the group gift and sign your card, Joyce, new to the group. I did what Sandy said, and unbelievably, my life changed again. There were men at this baby shower. This cute as hell guy across the room reached over to pick up a couch, and I grabbed the other end of it. We sat on opposite ends and introduced ourselves. Oh, Joyce, that enchanting moment. He said his name was Paul, and he was getting an MBA. He flirted with you for 6 months before he finally asked you out. We had a very speedy romance because both of us were grown-ups, and we'd been in plenty of relationships. Well, one of you was a little more grown-up than the other. Or should we say older? Paul was 12 years younger than you little cradle robber. Oh, yes, but Joyce, just a year and a half after that first date, Paul and you tied the knot. It was another elegant wedding, Joyce. Your girls sang in the ceremony, and you and Paul also sang an Everly Brothers duet.
So never leave me lonely. Tell me you love me only, and that you'll always
Of course, I continued teaching after we were married. I volunteered for drug and alcohol impact classes for students with substance abuse problems. And eventually, even though being a newlywed was sublime, life is still life, and now you had new challenges. In 2000, my mother was diagnosed with tongue cancer. My dad had a massive heart attack and could no longer drive or take care of their beloved Indiana home. Thankfully, Joyce, you were able to go back to Indiana, pack up their little house, and fly with them back to LA. My parents were staying with Paul and me in our guest room the morning we saw the planes hit the Twin Towers on September 11th. That was a day that I was particularly grateful to be an educator. My students arrived with so many questions and so much fear. It felt like it was such a worthwhile place to be. And I wasn't sure that I would have felt the same satisfaction if I'd been a full-time actor. Just 8 months after Mom and Dad moved out here, my sister had her final heart attack. My brother Gary was also living in LA, so we picked my parents up and took them back to say goodbye. And we all unplugged the machines, keeping my 53-year-old sister alive. Then life brought you joy for all the family in 2003. Rena graduated from Purdue, and she and her love, Tony, were married at Lake Arrowhead, where my parents danced at the wedding. Just 2 years later, Dad passed in their condo upstairs from us. Then Mother had a glorious 80th birthday in Hawaii. You girls surprised her with a hula, and she was able to visit with many lifelong family and friends. Kiri was now teaching math full time. Sadly, just shortly after Mom's 81st birthday, she was diagnosed with Guillain-Barré syndrome and was gone in 2 months. So life has been filled with both the good and the bad. Even though we have had a wonderful last few years because Mother's been gone for 11 years. And Kiri, Rena and Tony are living in Sydney, Australia, where they moved after they lost their foster baby they hoped to adopt. The addict mother had lied about who the father was, and when the judge told the kids that they had to give this baby to the newly discovered grandmother, I really wanted to get loaded. Instead, I drove back to a school where I had a drug and alcohol group waiting for me. And by my example, I was able to show those kids that they didn't have to drink or use, no matter how difficult or painful life was. In 2013, we had a beautiful grandbaby. Kiri and her partner brought us a beautiful baby girl just as we were losing that other baby. I had just retired from teaching, so I was able to babysit this girl 3 days a week for her first 1.5 years of life. I have now been retired almost 6 years, and believe it or not, I pursue acting full time. Oh, but wait, I forgot to mention. Paul and I are coming up on our 20th anniversary. And we travel all over the world together. We've been to meetings in Bali and Cozumel and Australia and New Zealand. I've now been retired about 6 years, and I pursue acting full time. I swear to God I do. I've been in a lot of short films and a bunch of plays, and it's a good time. And I even was in another music video.
Tried to fix her up and pull it out.
And even though it's a lot of fun and there are a lot of good times to be had, every once in a while, stuff does not work out the way you want it to. I'm just saying. Last year, there was a project that I was involved with, and I made some mistakes, and it did not go my way. But I didn't have to lose my sobriety over it. A mentor came into my life. He suggested reading this book from the 30s called Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude. I read this book 14 minutes and 59 seconds every day, whenever possible, as suggested. And I try to be in positive action to pursue my dreams. I also try to leave something worthwhile in the world. Yeah, Joyce. But keep in mind, marijuana is legal in California now. So when stuff doesn't work out, you know. Joyce, do not listen to them. There is also a Marijuana Anonymous, FYI, Sam. I try to be in positive action today. And there's also, oh, I want to tell you one more thing. Tell them about Abstractions, Joyce. You know that band? My brother and my son-in-law posted a video, the Wawa video, on Facebook last year. And producers of a short film reached out and are planning to use 5 of those Abstraction songs in an upcoming film that's set in the 80s. Who knows what's next? These are the principles I try to live by today. And I've made bookmarks for all of you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for your patience, your love, and your understanding. Holy shit! Oh my God!
Thank you all for joining
Thank
us.
you.
We're going to jump into a quick Q&A, so if you can stick around for that, we'd love to have you pick Joyce's brain.
Oh my God! What brain? More like wet brain. Holy.
Yeah, so any questions about her process, about what you saw tonight, anything that resonated for you that you want to share?
Oh God!
Let's just start us off. Yes, right here.
I want to say that I so applaud your perseverance.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was good you all did.
Yes, right over here.
I want to thank and compliment the audience tonight because
Yes!
you had us in the palm of your hand. We didn't care that you
Aw.
had to take a moment. That story was so captivating that we were there every single second, and it was even more delicious when you did forget. We almost were hoping something would happen. Your sides were just brilliant.
Thank you.
Yes.
Anyone else? Any questions? Yeah, up here at the top.
I've always wanted to know what ENERJOYCE refers to.
Well, it's a nickname that I've been given. I guess I gave it to myself. When I taught college, every single semester, students have to fill out feedback. And they would always say to me, "You're so energetic. I love her energy." And so when we had to start creating names for email, etc., I just invented ENERJOYCE, and I've used it for years. And it feels appropriate.
Yeah, up here in the middle.
Tonight it was coming from a heart attack. I think, yeah, no, I take B vitamins. That's about all I can say. Oh, shoot. I skipped a part. You would have seen it. Oh, Brandon.
She was a live wire from the time she was born. She is the most wonderful daughter in the world. She's so sweet.
Thanks, Brandon.
I love you. I love you. I love all of you. Oh my God, you guys. Yeah, so that's what a meltdown looks like. And but you know what? I probably am not going to get loaded over it because you guys were so wonderful.
Yes, and this is such brave work. I mean,
It is great work, and you kept us with you. That's
Oh, thank you.
it's over here in the corner.
I think you just demonstrated meltdown once, get up twice.
Aw.
Wonderful demonstration because as we all grow in our own lives, in our challenge, you're a perfect example that you pick yourself up and get going again.
Aw.
When they wrote the song We Shall Overcome, they could have made a few different verses and looked at your life.
Aw.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Joyce since at least her special ed teaching days back at Van Nuys High School. And I'm always astounded at the epic challenges that she takes on. This was an epic challenge. It's so impressive.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, up here in the middle. Hi, thank you so much. You're awesome, Joyce. I had a question. How did you go from like all of the different like flows, Sam? You know, like there were a couple of times when you were like talking about your children's husband, and then you had your hand on your head. Like, was that like a technique that like you were like? How did you?
It just is something he does a lot. He just kind of runs his hands. He just runs his hands through his hair a fair amount. Just, you know, just trying to come up with a mannerism to distinguish one person.
Like Sam, it was like with your arms. I
Right.
really enjoyed that cue for the audience.
Oh, thanks.
To like know how you were switching from character to character in your
Thank you.
performance. That was beautiful.
Thanks.
Yeah, right here.
Joyce, you know, we've always heard that life is unfair, but thank you for sharing that you survived a lot of it, even though some of it was self-induced.
A lot of it was. Thank you.
Right here. Right here? Yes, you.
Well, when you were referring to the script the first like 8 times, it was part of the play.
Sorry.
Little dance, and you said something so funny every time. I thought it was, and then about the 10th time, I thought maybe not. And I just want to say, holding it together and the bravery gave me such inspiration that you would take such a risk like that. I thoroughly.
Well, it was either that or a public suicide, you know. Up in the corner?
Yeah, up in the back corner, this gentleman.
Joyce, what are you going to do next?
You know what? I actually don't have a plan for what's next. I really don't. Someone who I know, a 92-year-old gentleman who had written a one-man show and got kind of ripped off by somebody helping him produce it, asked me if I would help him try to produce it. So I may try to do that. I promised him I'm going to help him. That's the next thing I know I'm going to be involved in. Thank you.
I've got some plans for her.
Oh, like Joyce, how about remembering it?
Yeah.
I was going to ask when the movie was going to come out.
Oh, that could be juicy.
Yes, up here in the middle.
Joyce, where do you find all of your inspiration? Because knowing you and your artistic creativity, it just flows and flows. Where do you find all that inspiration? How do you continue to go?
You know, I don't think I have a good answer to that. I'm just wired to be inherently optimistic, which is, of course, the only way I could have gotten through a catastrophe like this. But, and I often think that I think the best of others, and I feel like they think the best of me. In other words, I take it for granted that people are expecting me to do well. And I felt your energy out here rooting for me. Oh my God, you guys, you are a love bucket. So, thanks.
Up here at the
Joyce, I wanted to thank you. I love your energy. And I wanted just to take a moment to reframe something for you. Because I can see how self-conscious you are about returning to the book. And I was frankly amazed that you were off the book for so much. And just to reframe it for you, I had the great good fortune of watching Lily Tomlin develop Signs of Intelligent Life. And she was on book for a long, long time. And I frankly thought that you were going to be on book like that, just carrying your book with you. And that would be no Shonda. You know, it would be in keeping with the process, really. So I wanted to give you many props and much love, just for your willingness to step out and be you and be bold. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that it? Oh, a couple more.
Yeah, just a couple more, and then we'll wrap up. So back here in the front.
I loved Flo and Sam, and the whole idea of that split personality thing. Where did that come from?
You know, I saw quite a few of the brilliant artists in this room and who've been on this stage who have done an incredible personification. Like I saw somebody personify hair and a rug. And, you know, I've seen some brilliant personifications. And when we started working together, I said, I don't think I have anything in my life that I can personify. And she said, okay, you probably do, but okay. And I thought, I probably do. I don't know. And so she just kind of opened my mind to the idea that maybe if I looked for something, I could find it. And then I found it fairly quickly. So.
Good work, Jessica.
Yes. Last one in the back.
Yes, we'll finish in the back in the middle.
Total, how long did you spend on this project? When did you start writing?
September, October,
Yes.
something like that. And I know that there are a lot of people who have done their shows here in this festival that have worked on their shows for much, 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 much longer. But this is Sam's way. Sam is so fucking arrogant. He just thinks he can do anything. And so, yeah, in fact, I forgot one of his lines was, you know, yeah, I'm the one who told her to sign up for this festival before she even had anything written. Now we can see the downside of that. Anyway, thank you all. There is stuff for you to eat out here. Please eat, drink, be merry. Oh my God.
Okay, celebrate all the things that went right.
Celebrate all the things that went right. People were wonderful.
Yes.
Oh, honey bunny.
I love it. I mean, just the fact that you did it. It's hard to do one person show, and the fact that you did what you did.
Oh, honey.
The person
Oh,
like
my
matters in your
God.
head. I love you. I love you. I love you.
Oh, thank you. You are such a trooper. Thank you. I'm so glad I didn't drive you right out the door in the first 10 minutes. Oh, honey, thank you so much.
I was living it. I almost reached out for a couple times.
Minded that.
Turn your mic off. Your mic off.
Oh, shit.
No. You can just do that.
Okay. I wouldn't have minded.
Stopping me, but I can't. I can't. You're still kind of. Oh, wait, wait, wait. I want to put down. One more.